Susan Olsen definitely has reaped the rewards of being a child actor on the beloved family sitcom The Brady Bunch over the years. Her character, Cindy Brady, is arguably one of the most well-known faces to ever be on television. She was the youngest of the sisters, but you already knew that. Who didn't grow up with the Brady family? They were practically extensions of our own families. For years, she remained silent on her Brady years. It seems she moved on after the bunch had their final curtain call. Sure, she would reunite with the old gang for the Brady spin-offs, but it never seemed to be the focal point of her life. She always seemed to have something else going on. Now that she's 58 years old and recently participated in HGTV's Very Brady renovation program, she's finally beginning to open up about her years on the sitcom that helped launch her career in show business. And it may come as a surprise that she truly despised being on the Brady Bunch with every fiber of her being. Stick around until the end of the video to see how Susan Olsen lost one of her jobs over some incredibly controversial comments. Facts First presents, Susan Olsen says she hated being in the Brady Bunch. Before we find out just exactly what made Susan Olsen so miserable during the production of the show that brought her fame and a small fortune, make sure you remember to hit like and subscribe to our channel. Tap the bell icon to turn on notifications. Overall, she actually looks back on the bunch relatively fondly. Susan recognizes that the Brady Bunch and its cast had a certain undeniable magical chemistry about it that kept audiences enamored for all these years. To this day, the Brady Bunch remains in syndication and is remembered as one of the more iconic sitcoms to ever grace the TV screen. She remembers fondly how there was genuine love among the cast members and that everyone was always looking out for one another. The familial vibe that viewers observed on screen was based on an atmosphere on set that was very much like a big family. But as we all know, families aren't always functional regardless of the underlying love that draws them together. Problems arise, and sometimes people that love each other can't stand each other at times. Despite hardships and trials, the Brady family always stuck together both on screen and off. She once was at odds with the show's core values. When Susan was young, she resented the wholesome depiction of family and American values that the show embodied. Young Susan was into punk rock and had a problem with authority figures. By all accounts, she was a pretty rebellious child. So when she had to play Cindy, she hated how square she was. She desperately wanted to play a role that had a bit more bite. But now, Susan's all grown up. She's an avid animal rights activist, singer, and artist. She never has fully adopted the status quo, but she now has much more of an appreciation for the values and morals that the Brady Bunch was trying to instill in its viewers. Being an actress helped her grow. Being a child star is rarely a walk in the park. Many young entertainers lose a significant piece of their childhood or otherwise become stunted in some way. Just think about Macaulay Culkin, for example. Susan, however, has expressed how much being an actress helped her expand her horizons and become acquainted with who she truly was and what direction she wanted to ultimately go down. People would ask her all the time whether she wished that the Brady Bunch was her actual family, and she would always reply with a very firm no. She had a loving family that she described as being funnier and weirder than the Bradys ever were, but the foremost reason for her adoration of her real family was that they always supported her and never pushed her too hard. They actively encouraged her to be who she was and pursue her dreams. She channeled this family love into her acting, and because of it, many people that didn't have the best families in their own lives tuned in regularly to the show and grew to depend upon it. The Bradys were a beacon of sorts, a touchstone for the underprivileged to vicariously experience love through. This was Susan Olsen's proudest accomplishment while working on the show. She wanted to make a real, positive impact on people's lives. Susan Olsen never wanted to be an actress. It may be some people's life dream to become a successful actor, but it was never Susan's intention. She really only used her success on TV to springboard her towards her true passions. She used it as a way to get her foot in the door so she could put energy towards her love for visual arts, singing, and animals. Even to this day, she reluctantly embraces her acting knowledge and skills. She teaches acting to children on the side, but it's not really her main focus. She does love being able to teach children. She's very much a children are the future kind of person. Many people come up to her all the time and express how they feel like they grew up with her, a sentiment that she doesn't fully know how to respond to. How would you feel if a perfect stranger told you they felt like they always knew you? The person they grew up with was Cindy Brady, not Susan Olsen. That person was drastically different than the one they saw on screen for all those years. Fans are oftentimes shocked to learn she wasn't the sweet, wholesome, innocent girl that they were accustomed to seeing on their TV screens. Susan didn't think Cindy Brady was very smart. Another reason Susan Olsen feels disconnected from her childhood acting role was the fact that Cindy Brady wasn't very smart. Or at least that's the perspective Susan has. She sees her as being rather dim and unadventurous. Like we already touched on, Susan was into punk rock, and she was rather boisterous and outspoken. Cindy Brady, however, was relatively mild-mannered and straight-laced. To be constantly identified with such a squeaky-clean persona when she was in fact far from it must have been very difficult for her. But the Brady days have long since been buried by the sands of time. These days, Susan maintains a much quieter life, or at least she tries to. Susan Olsen is an avid video gamer. When she isn't teaching a filmmaking class for children, she likes to keep her mind sharp by playing video games. She loves strategic thinking required to play games like World of Warcraft. She also has a special love for brain training apps that helped her keep her wits about her. No shame in that. When asked if she had any more secrets to spill about the old Brady days, she declined and pointed out that Barry Williams had already done so in Growing Up Brady, a 1992 tell-all autobiography that was adapted into a made-for-TV film in 2000. Although she pointed out much of what was mentioned in the book was sensationalized at best, if not totally fabricated. Not shy from controversy. You may not have known that Susan Olsen was a radio host for LA Talk Radio. She hosted a show called Two Chicks Talkin' Politics. She was abruptly fired in 2016, however, following a homophobic tirade that she posted on Facebook directed towards openly gay actor Leon Accord Whiteling. The messages were all intended to be private, but when Leon made them public, the station quickly cut her show and made an announcement that they wouldn't support anyone on their platform that used hate speech. Olsen never really made a thorough apology for the event, instead making a statement that basically invoked her First Amendment rights and reiterating that everyone had the right to their own opinion. Despite this controversial blunder, she seems to have moved forward from this darker chapter. She has expressed her words didn't fully represent her views towards those in the LGBT community, and they were spoken from a place of anger, not hate. Not sure if that suffices, but it's a start. Since then, she has mostly stayed out of the public eye except for last year's Brady renovation show. It's probably still safe to say we haven't seen the last of Susan Olsen. Well, that wraps up our look inside the life of Susan Olsen. She wasn't exactly the Brady we all knew and loved on the TV screen. She always had a bit of a wild streak and a disdain for authority figures. She was a rebel without a cause who eventually grew up and came into their own element. Being a Brady helped her grow. Although she didn't necessarily love her time as Cindy, it certainly helped her grow into the person she is today. So now it's your time to shine. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think was the best Brady spinoff? Were you a fan of the Brady Bunch Variety Hour, or were you more into the Brady Kids Saturday morning animated show? Let us know what you think in the comments. And before you move on to something else, make sure you tap like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We can't keep bringing you quality videos like this without your support. Tap the bell icon to turn on notifications so you'll always know when there's an exciting new Factsverse offering.